Turning now to your community focus, early voting in the special election for the 1st Congressional District starts tomorrow. And if you pull a Democratic ballot, you'll be asked to choose one of 12 candidates. Joining us now, one of those Democratic candidates, State Rep Stephen Casey. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So we'll start, as I always do in these interviews, 60 seconds or less. Why are you running for Congress?
Okay. Well, I feel that Rhode Island really needs a leader. And as an Eagle Scout, Freemason, and that's only one thing that one U.S. president has ever achieved. I think people can trust me, but they need somebody that they can trust. They also need leadership. I've been in the House of Representatives for 10 years in leadership positions. I've chaired the Health and Human Services Committee during COVID. We had groundbreaking legislation that expanded telemedicine. We also kept businesses open, basically provided a commerce-led program to help businesses create opportunities for PPP loans and EIDL loans, which kept everybody open. And we were the only state to do that, to keep manufacturing open. Then the Speaker asked me to chair the Housing and Municipal Government Committee during the housing crisis. I've taken on those challenges, and as a firefighter as well, I believe I know, seeing what happens in our world, I believe I know what Rhode Islanders really want, but I'm going to be the one to wait till they tell me. I'm not going to tell everybody what they want. I'm going to listen to them and see what happens.
You've been knocking on doors. We were just talking about that in the commercial break. So what are people telling you? What do you think is the biggest issue facing the 1st Congressional District?
Well, I think there's a lot of issues that face the Congressional District. I think the campaign is making it out of a couple of different issues, but I think what we really need is help and support here at home to deal with the homelessness issues, mental health, substance use disorder, veterans issues, as well as elderly care, trying to help people stay in their homes and live with dignity. And I think there are solutions for that. I'd like to look at a federal matching funds for money that we give away or that we spend overseas in foreign aid. I'd like to make it like a matching 10% federal fund so that we can take care of the issues at home. And those are the things that really need to be addressed.
I want to do a sort of rapid fire, if you will. So single word or yes or no answers. Are you pro-life or pro-choice?
I am personally pro-choice, but I will not support any federal legislation that undermines a woman's right to choose. And that's where I stand. Personally, I am pro-life, but the protections under Roe v. Wade are extremely important for a woman.
Would you support or oppose a federal ban on so-called assault-style rifles like the AR15?
I wouldn't support a federal ban. It's a label. We need to talk about the issues that are happening. We need to get illegal guns off the street. We need to protect our children in school, and I would support President Biden's Safer Communities Act in order to do that. There's some great pieces of legislation that are within that package that will help address those issues.
So you would oppose a ban on AR-15?
Correct, the way that it's labeled. I will certainly look at legislation. If they term these things correctly, I will do that.
Okay. Would you support or oppose legalizing recreational marijuana on the federal level?
I can support legalizing marijuana on a federal level. I think it's important because we have, like in Rhode Island, we have dispensaries and we have people that are out of the tax code because they're out of federal tax code because we're dealing with what is quote unquote illegally federally. But there are also issues with impairment standards that we need to think about in the case of driving under the influence or operating under the influence. Rhode Island is full of manufacturers that are concerned about how that's going to affect their businesses, and we don't want people to get hurt.
Do you support term limits for members of Congress?
We can have that conversation. I'd like to get there first, and I'll certainly have that discussion.
And last question, what committee would you want to serve on if you're sent to D.C.?
Everybody wants to be on the Appropriations Committee because that's where the money is and that's where you can help Rhode Islanders most, but it doesn't really happen when you're a rookie or in your freshman term. So I would like to be involved in the Veterans Affairs Committee. I think I've done that work here at the State House for 10 years on the same level, and I really have an idea and a feel for how I can help the veterans, and that's one of my passions.
All right, Rep. Stephen Casey, that's all the time that we have, but thanks so much for being here at 4.